June 13th,
Pages
1967.
15,641 and 15 through 15,646. I'm going to read to you what this congressional record says. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and a co-beneficiary of the PCT, the Public Charitable Trust, the constructive of the Cesta QV Trust, of the individual under the USA Inc., under the 14th Amendment, which upholds the debt of the USA and the US Inc. June the 13th, 1967. This is in a congressional record, page 15,641 through 15,646. It explains it in depth and detail. This is a quote that we took out of there. A citizen of the United States is a civilly dead entity operating as a co-trustee and a co-beneficiary of the PCT, the Public Charitable Trust. Remember, The Laws of Nations by Vattel, 400-plus-year-old book, long before America. It tells that all nations are formed under trust, a trust indenture. America's trust indenture was formed as the Public Charitable Trust of the United States of America. That's how a nation is formed, under trust, the highest form of law. It has to be. The constructive, the Cesta QV Trust, that is the individuals, the people. Each individual person has a Cesta QV Trust, a trust under the Public Charitable Trust. And at the time of 1967, the name of our country was USINC. The name of our country has changed many times over the years. Every time there's been a bankruptcy, it's changed. Abraham Lincoln, when he first took office, he wasn't allowed to be a president. He was an esquire, and the original Constitution didn't allow that. How many times did he, as a kid, we learned about Abe Lincoln, right? When we were a little bitty up on stage 7 years ago, right? We're squeaking that crap out. How many times did he run for president and lose? Quite a few. You know why? How many? Thank you. One right answer. 7 times. What was he before he ran?
Senator.
He was a lawyer in Illinois, and he screwed up Illinois. Kind of like Obama. In fact, exactly like Obama. Okay? And he failed that many times. Why? Read letters and journals of people who lived during the time. Nobody wanted the communist son of a bitch as president. I'm sorry to say that. I was taught differently, just like you all were. But nobody wanted him as president. He wrote letters that said he never would have freed the slaves had it been up to him, that he believes that the white race should be the superior race. In many ways, in those letters, he sounded just like Hitler. But we put him up on Mount Rushmore, and we believe he's one of the greatest presidents that ever lived. Because you don't know true history. It's all been hidden from you, subverted from you. You understand his wife was a Confederate? He was a Northerner. She was a Confederate. All her family fought for the Confederate Army. Her family. Real history will tell you that she worked with Booth to take out her own husband. Stop that. So you don't know real history. Nobody, not very few, if any, do. Because it's all history's written by the victor. His story. That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. There's a lot of things Lincoln did. He became president. What did he do? First thing, he signed the very first executive order in our nation's history. Executive Order number 1. What did he do? He bankrupted our trading companies, the East India Trading Company, the Virginia Trading Company, and he bankrupted the United States of America right off the bat. And then he refiled the United States as a Delaware corporation. He put the Grand Army of the Republic in charge of the United States of America. Did he? No, it already was. He acknowledged that they were in charge, that the Army was in charge. See? What else did he do? The Labor Code, the Executive Order number 100. See, he wrote Executive Order number 1 all the way to Executive number 100. He wrote 100 executive orders his first 30 days in office to completely change this nation. And prior to that, no president had ever written an executive order. That's why his first one was Executive Order number 1. Understand, he changed everything. And we haven't been the same since. And most of the problems we have today, how many families get destroyed by the income tax? I mean, it breaks up families. It does all kinds of things, closes businesses down. It makes people lose their homes. How many families in America get destroyed by that? Yeah, Lincoln started it. Just thank the man. Understand, those are all things we should.
Okay, just sent the recordings to your correct email address. And by the way, there were not 3 recordings, comma, there were 2, period.
Very easily, that when I was finding them out, I had to read books. It was so much harder. And I thank the internet every day. In many ways, I hate it because people can say anything they want, make up anything they want. It's very hard to remove, if impossible. And once it's out there, it's always out there. So it destroys families too. But on the other hand, when you want to learn the truth, you can find it. And you can find it fast, instead of searching through entire libraries, which is difficult. So to me, it's an incredible benefit if used in the right way. What is a constitution? What is the definition? No, not really. It's a contract. It is. I'll read you what the definition is, because this is going to blow you away. First time I read it, it blew me away, and I did what I always do. I try and deny crap and say, no, this can't be right. I got to find it somewhere else, and I go on and on and on, just like somebody else I know, Mikey. Mikey done it. The definition of a constitution. is a security with sureties created by constitutors. This came from Benjamin Franklin himself. His definition of a constitution. A constitution is a security with sureties. A security with sureties created by constitutors. Constitutors are people who contract. See? Who created a security with sureties. The definition of a statute is the rules of an organization that have the effect of law only with your consent. Only with your consent. See, what we really need to learn in this country is how not to give our consent. We have some t-shirts we bring occasionally that says, "I do not consent," right across the t-shirt. Okay? The Supreme Court of the United States has rules, just like almost every court has rules, a rule book that they go by. Supreme Court Rule number 47.2 defines a state as something that includes territories and districts, both territories and districts. What is the difference between a territory and a district? Yes, but I'm going to give you a little bit better example. A territory is the jurisdiction of the land operating on the soil of the geographical area, making up a state. Okay. A district is an imaginary overlay. It's like a cartographer, a map guy. Any map guys in here? Any cartographers in here? Okay. You lay out this beautiful land and soil called this great nation of America. From sea to shining sea, it's just beautiful. And you make a map of it and you lay it down on the table and then you lay a clear sheet of plastic over the top. And you start drawing on it and making shit up. Defining borders of states, counties, all kinds of things. That's a district. Develop it and divide it into districts. It's totally different. A corporation's soul. Everybody know what a corporation's soul is? Most corporation souls are very old that pre-exist government. Pope has many corporation souls. It's a legal entity consisting of a single incorporated office occupied by a single natural person. That's all it is. Okay? But a corporation soul has benefits that surpass government because they existed before governments. Okay? Registration, the complete process. This is great. What is the definition of a registration? It is the complete process of preparing to sell a newly issued security to the public. You register your birth, it becomes a bond, a security, it's sold to the public. You register your car, it becomes a bond, it becomes a security. Every state it's about $10,000. A bond that the state sells and makes because you walked in the door and registered your vehicle, and they own it because they get the MCO. If you're lucky enough to have it paid off, you get the certificate of title. A certificate of title just certifies that there's a title out there somewhere. That's all it does. It's not really a title. It's certifying, just like a certified copy, a certified mail. It's certifying that there's a title out there somewhere. And the state has the MCO. Because when you went to the dealership to buy it, you walked into an automobile dealership. You never walked into a motor vehicle dealership. There is no such thing. You know why? Because the automobile dealership has all the MCOs on their new vehicles. So it's an automobile. And you whip out an $80,000 for a brand new Chevy Silverado Duramax diesel crew cab, 4-wheel drive. That's what I like. And they're about 80 grand. And you whip that money out, you put it down on the table. At that moment in time, as soon as the salesman accepts the offer, you own that vehicle. And then he looks at you and says, give me another $500 for title, license, registration, please. And if you hand it to him, you just gave that $80,000 gift to the state for a lease on something they own that they can control how fast you go, if you put on your turn signal, if your brake lights work, if you wear a seatbelt, if you talk on the phone while you're, they can control everything about it because they own it, not you. They have superior title, and that's a problem. I don't like giving them $80,000 gifts. See? And then if you paid cash for it, you get a certificate of title mailed from the DMV after they've registered it and created a security and made another $10,000 off of you. And the average driver in America has 2.1 vehicles. So they made your driver's license for walking in DMV a $10,000 bond. Each of your 2 vehicles, $10,000 bonds. That's 30,000 drivers. And in the state of Texas, there's 25 million licensed drivers who own 50 million cars. That's 30,000 apiece times 25 million every year that the Department of Public Safety, Texas's DMV, gets just because you consented to give up your right to travel for the privilege of driving or operating a motor vehicle, and you're not even an Uber driver or taxi driver or bus driver hauling passengers for hire, so you didn't need to do it anyway. So you did it by your voluntary consent. Because that's what you were sold. The problem is there's hundreds of pages of law. Here's one of 3 traveling by right books I have. This was put out by my Southern Oregon group, who did a tremendous amount of research. I've got one of these books that's written by an attorney friend of mine back in 2009 from the state of Washington, and he did a great job writing a traveling by right book. There's another one sitting over there on that table of information compiled. There is so much documentation and evidence that you don't need a license to drive unless you're hauling passengers for hire, goods for interstate commerce, or a public servant in the performance of their duties. Other than that, you don't need a license. You don't need to register your car. But are you going to get in trouble right now for it? You can. Now, really, it's easy to fight and win that. But there's some idiots out there on the road in cruise missile ships with blue lights on them operating in Admiralty, not knowing anything. It's not their fault, right? I'm giving him a hard time. He knows it. I love him. He's a great man. See, most of them are. There's a few that are not. They're a little hard asses, but that's because they're low IQ bullet sponges following orders, usually by the attorney, and that's okay. Stupid people justify things in about 8 million different ways. And it's because of the lack of knowledge. It's that simple. They have to justify their actions. If they're knowledgeable, then it's a matter of education. Our job, because they're not trained and educated, our police officers, they're not. Our job is to make sure they are. How do we do that? In Texas, you'd file a TCO report. That's a good start. I think they round file them because they're a complaint. See, everybody goes in and puts in a complaint. You walk in a police station. I watched this happen in the very sheriff's department that I used to be in. I watched somebody walk into the counter, say they wanted to make a complaint. They were handed a complaint form. They filled out the form. They signed it. I watched that guy at the desk do exactly this. He looked out the door into the parking lot to see when the guy drove away. And as soon as the guy pulled up to the stop sign out the parking lot, turned and went down the road, he took that complaint form and he went. Every court wants you to file a complaint. I file claims. There's a big difference between a complaint and a claim. A complaint is nothing. It's meaningless. I could complain about your bald head, your pink shirt, your shoes. What? I'm picking on you. I got to pick on somebody. And you were there. So, you can complain about anything. People complain about me all the time. Who cares? I just let it just fall off, go on my way. Because I know who I am. I don't care if they know who I am or not. I was taught to judge a man by his works. Not by the way he looks, the way he dresses, not even sometimes the way he acts, but the way his works. What does he do? What does he do to help others? What's he do with his family? What's he do? That's how I judge people. See? Anyway, put in a claim. Claims get things done. All right, what is an appearance? The formal proceeding by which a defendant submits himself to the jurisdiction of the court. Okay? What does it mean? You ever heard of these They do a seance and they summon the dead into the room. See, they put out a summons and the dead magically appear. That's what a court does. It's exactly what a court does. And the dead entity, a civilly dead citizen, appears by general appearance. He just magically appears. You laugh, but it's true. All right. A defendant. What is the definition of a defendant? It isn't one who defends themselves. That's what an attorney likes to say. A defendant is one who defends a trust. It's always a trust matter before the court. If you attack it that way first, sometimes you can avoid the other jurisdictions because you've already solved it at the highest level. A resolution is a formal expression of opinion or intention, usually made after voting and usually by a formal legislative organization. They make rules, acts, and statutes to rule the territories. Isn't that interesting? Authenticate. The act of giving authority to a record so as to render it legally admissible in evidence. When you authenticate your birth certificate, right? Now, minimum $100 million. How do I know that? Go look up the law. And it's nice when you look it up online. And there will be certain words that are written in blue with an underline. Please click on them. Click on the word guarantee associated with that full faith and credit bond. Click on the word guarantee. It'll tell you that it's worth $100 million minimum right there. Yeah. It's all there. It's all out there for us. All the proof is there. Everything I talk about is proved. It's been vetted for 35 freaking years of me saying this. If it wasn't fact, they would have came after me a long time ago and I'd be in there behind bars. You see? It stood the test of time. Apostille. United States of America jurisdiction requires authentication. The United States Inc. jurisdiction requires an apostille. Isn't that interesting? Apostilles to be used with foreign nations. Attorney. To attorn is to take property from one person and give it to another. The definition of an attorney is an actor to attorn. An actor is somebody who gets up on stage and lies convincingly enough to make you believe in the character and the plot. Therefore, a liar. I was waiting for somebody to say it. And to attorn is to steal from one and turn over to another. Therefore, a thief. By the very definition of their profession, they're liars and thieves, and that's what Christ warned us about them in the Bible. He only warned people about 4 professions. What are they? Bankers, lawyers, doctors, Organized religion. Pastors. You look up the definition of pastor. Look up the definition. It's someone who does the work of Satan. I know I get in a lot of trouble for saying that. People start to hate me right there. I felt it. There was a few people in the room that sent energy my way, and it hit me hard, and I felt it. It's okay. You cannot be charged in one jurisdiction and defend in another. This is the very problem I have in Texas right now. City of Claiborne issued a traffic ticket to me. Grabbed me up, put some cuffs on me, put me in the back of a car, put me in jail, where the judge, when he arraigned me, said I never should have been arrested for this offense in the first place. It should have just been a traffic ticket, but because I was arrested, I had to pay the ticket right then and there in order to get out. So I had to pay for the bonds. Then there was a traffic court in the city of Cleveland where I just went ahead because of ease, and I knew something bigger was coming, so I'm not worried about it. Paid 2 of them, the other 2 charges were dismissed. Done. Paid 2 were dismissed. Then I'm up in Dallas Fort Worth, and I get arrested. I was driving a Dodge Hellcat, and I was going 47 in what I thought was a 45, and it turned out to be a 30. I could have swore it was 45 right there. Four lanes with a center turn lane. It should have been 45. Anyway, they stopped me. A motorcycle cop put me in handcuffs again. Took me to jail. I sat in one jail for almost exactly 24 hours with nothing happening. Then they picked me up and take me to Tarrant County Jail, where I got processed in, and that took like a long time. Got arraigned at 4 o'clock the next morning, so I'd already been in there over 24 hours. Got arraigned on charges in the jurisdiction of the state of Texas that they called felonies, which weren't, on warrants out of Cleburne that they put out on the 2 charges on the traffic ticket that were dropped. Oh yeah, I can't even make this shit up. On a misdemeanor A and B warrant, misdemeanor warrant. The very first cop, instead of going to the jail, I should have been hauled to Cleburne to begin with. I'm glad I wasn't, because they're about as crooked as hell. But that's what they should have did. And then it took them another 24 full hours to process me out. Slowest process I've ever seen in my life, just to be processed in and out. I don't know how Florida is, but it's ridiculous. Deschutes County, Oregon, if we arrested somebody like that, we would have took them by the courthouse. There's a roll-up door that we hit some buttons, and it rolls up. We go inside the basement of the building. We put them in a little tiny cell. We go take our paperwork. There's a little computer right there. We go do our paperwork. We go upstairs to the court. We ask them for an arraignment. We go down and we get the prisoner. We arraign him right there at the courthouse. He sees a judge. He doesn't even get processed in the jail yet. If the judge says, oh, it's okay, he's free to go, or the bail's $100 and he's got it in his wallet, great, and he's out of there. He's let right out right there at the courthouse. Never even goes to the jail or the police station. I don't know what different places are like, but. And then if he has to be bad, then he gets taken to the jail where he's processed in for a while to go to trial or till he bonds a bigger bond or whatever. That's proper due process. They're supposed to be taken by the magistrate first. That's constitutional. And I'm talking about a stinking democratic blue-ass state. Texas doesn't do that. They processed me in both jails before I even had an arraignment. 48 hours before I had an arraignment. Public versus private. Anything registered in the public domain, your car, your house, your all caps name, are public. Anything created by Congress is statutory jurisdiction and is void. Did you hear what I just said? Anything created by Congress as a statutory jurisdiction is void per the Constitution. An Article 3 judiciary is in the private jurisdiction. All court cases are considered commercial warfare under international commercial law. All parties to a cause must appear by a nom de jure, which is the name of war. Your name of war, your all caps name. An alien enemy cannot maintain an action during the war in his own flesh and blood name. War is a gigantic commercial transaction. All war is commerce, and all commerce is war. That system works entirely on waiver and consent. On waiver and consent. It's all voluntary. Okay, I'm going to change gears just a little bit. I'm going to tell you about a fun online conversation we had with the National Association of Banking. National Association of Banking's AI. I love AI sometimes because it never lies. It doesn't. It tells the truth. United States Treasury Department, AAI, we called it and said, who owns the United States Treasury? And the artificial intelligence voice came on and said, Donald J. Trump. I thought that was pretty cool. So let me tell you about this one, the National Association of Banking. The AI virtual assistant came on and said, hi there, I'm NAB's secure virtual assistant. I can answer your banking questions or guide you to the right person. How may I help? We said, my bank account has been drained of funds and I don't understand why. And it said, we can only discuss details of the deceased's accounts with the legally authorized representative of their estate. Will work with the named executor where there's a will, or the administrator or immediate next of kin where there isn't a will. We can't release any funds until the estate is finalized, although you may be able to access funds to cover the deceased's funeral costs. Funds will be released via electronic funds transfer per the authorized representative's instructions. And then it proceeded to ask for your name, social security number, proof that you were the deceased to access the decedent's account. Gosh, some of those things are really revealing in their knowledge. Just little bits of proof you can do yourself that's kind of fun. Administrative Procedures Act, Section 6. Nothing herein shall be construed either to grant or to deny to any person who is not a lawyer the right to appear for or represent others before any agency or in any agency proceeding of government. So tell me a judge could tell you have to be a bar member to represent someone, when their own administrative procedures that they have to follow says you don't have to be. What do you think about that? That's the first step right there. Recognizing that is the most important thing you can learn here. See, that's the whole thing. What this whole movement boils down to is who are we and who are they? And once you learn who we are and who they are, then you can do something. But our problem is we think we're one thing, men and women. We don't know we're persons, citizens, residences, voters, debtors, decedents. That's how we're treated. So we don't know that. We don't know who we are. And we sure as hell don't know who they are. You can, but it's hard to defend. Do you know what the word sui juris means? That's right. It is someone who has all the rights to which a free man is entitled. That's the definition of sui juris. One who has all the rights to which a free man. The word citizen used. I looked at all kinds of things, going clear back to the Virginia Compact and the Mayflower Compact, and I couldn't find anything until right after the Revolutionary War. And then I found a proclamation from the King of England, who talked about, he knew it would be expensive to bring those British soldiers back to England. And that's got to come out of the king's coffers to ship them all back. So he put out a proclamation. He said, those British soldiers who would like to remain on the shores of America shall remain as British citizens to provide the free men and women of America with essential governmental services. And that was the earliest example I could find of the word citizen used in something relating to America history. So he distinguished right then and there between free men and women and British citizens. And that the British citizens, because what did the free men and women want to do after the Revolutionary War? Hey, man, damn right they want to go home. They've been at war for a long time. They want to go home and raise families and clear land and put in farms and animals and harvest and move west and all kinds of different things. The last thing that was on their minds is running for mayor, parish leader, governor. They didn't want to do that crap. They went home. So the free men and women of America went home to raise their families and do their own thing and put in crops and cut down trees. And the king left the British soldiers who wanted to remain on the shores of America was allowed to remain if they took office. That was the qualification. And they became our government. And what changed? Nothing. Nothing changed. They're still our government. They're still working under the Crown Inc., under the Bar Association, the British Accreditation Registry. And they're a bunch of many ticks and parasites. Playing politics. Understanding that helps an American like me to say, I got to stand up. I got to do something about that. I can't have this. I need our men and women to be free, and I need our free men and women to stand up and jump off that British citizenship. Because the minute you said you're a U.S. citizen, who are you? Citizen, a member of the company. The company is Great Britain, and we work for them by our own consent. We stopped being an American. And if that doesn't hit home and piss you off, nothing will. See, my job's to piss you off. So you'll get up off the couch and go do something and change this country. That's it. Get you interested. Get you learning more. Pique your interest. I can't teach you everything in a 3-day weekend. Nobody can. Doesn't happen. So if you come here and you're brand new and you learn a little bit and you get inspired to go learn some more, and you learn enough that you want to change your status and your standing and develop some standing. See, standing I can't teach. I can teach you status and I can teach you jurisdiction. Standing is developed. Standing is your knowledge, your ability to stand upon your rights and to stand firm. And when I walk into a courtroom, I walk in carrying a whole bag like that, full of everything that I need. And I walk in, and I get up there, and I lay all my stuff out, and then I stand just like this. And I say, I'm ready, Your Honor. And I try to glue my feet to the floor. And I want my right foot slightly ahead of my left foot. And when I talk to the judge, I talk to the judge. When I talk to the prosecutor, I talk to the prosecutor. When I'm talking to the jury, I talk to the jury. And nothing moves but my hips, if I can help it. And then I've got all my tools laid out. I take in a civil flag apiece. I take in 40 pieces of silver. Why? I want to show I'm at peace and I'm not a pauper. I'm not indigent. Those 40 pieces of silver are worth more than every bit of fiat currency in the judge's bank account. Bonnie's in jail right now because years ago, in this same case, they had already made a decision she was indigent. Are you kidding me? She started an insurance company at the age of 25. She retired when she was 40 when she sold that company. She owned way over $1 million in real estate. She's anything but indigent, always has been, since way before then. But they just declared her indigent. And I don't even think at the time, back then, because she had an attorney who was handling stuff, that she even knew that's what they did. And so I come along after she's been arrested on April 10th, and I say, all right, I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to read every document on her case going clear back to the very beginning. And I go through and I find all these reasons why she's in jail today. And they all happened long ago, before she knew any of this stuff. And I just get pissed off. And I actually get mad at Bonnie, my own wife. Love her to death, but I get mad at her. Because had I known about that right after I got married and right after I known her, I probably could have solved it all a year and a half ago, and she wouldn't be there today. But she did too many things by hiring an attorney, accepting things, on and on and on. Where all those things I would have destroyed in a heartbeat. All her attorney would have had to say is, Your Honor, the prosecution didn't prove she had intent to even commit a crime, and the intent must be proven, but we can prove she had no intent to commit a crime simply by her actions. She recognized she had made a mistake, bringing a weapon in her purse, forgetting it was there, into the court building lobby, which isn't the courtroom. Texas state statute clearly states courtroom. I think if a legislator's intent would be courthouse, they would have used the word courthouse. But they said courtroom, and if some judge got up on the stand and perjured himself, in my opinion, by stating the lobby is part of the courtroom. No, they made that shit up. Right then and there. I would have nailed him had I been in that room. Because I would have held him to the word. Words are important. They're everything. Understand that. Words are important. And I would have said her action showed she had no intent to commit a crime because she was leaving the building to go put it back in her car. Please dismiss this case with prejudice, Your Honor. And he would have had to. And had that been done by her attorney, who she paid a lot of good money to, clear back in 2015, none of those problems would have happened, including her kids being removed from her. Do you understand that's how incompetent attorneys are? No. Their job is to pat you on the back on your way to jail and say, I'm sorry, we did the best job we possibly could, after they've made a deal in the back room with the rest of their clique, their bar members. Always is. Always is. Their first obligation is the bar. So, I'm sorry, what? Is that what they're up to now? You know what 1,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean are? A good start. I really don't care, because real money is defined as 31 point so many grains. It tells you right here. Yeah, whatever. 31 plus grains of silver. Okay? It's getting a little ratty. Anyway, this is a, notice the color it's written in. Okay? This is my God trust. Okay? I figured if you're going to make a trust, you might as well take it to the top. Because no man can argue with the Word of God. And Congress has said that. Public Law 97-280, the Bible is the Word of God, and it is the law of this land, and is what this nation was founded upon. Okay. What's that? 97-280. Public Law 97-280. Yeah. It was presented by the people to our legislators, and then Congress adopted it, and then they turned it into Public Law 97-280. You know when they did that? A little history quiz here. Do you know when they turned it in to 1982? Thank you very much. It only took them a couple hundred years. Drives me crazy. So anyway, you guys, you can get this off the website, read it, make it yours. It's very simple. It requires a couple of things: the acceptance of the trustee to be the trustee. An acceptance of the trustee to be the trustee. A trustee is a fiduciary, and he must accept the position because it's the responsibility position. So do an acceptance of the trustee to be the trustee. And the only other thing that this needs is the attachment of the property list that goes with the trust. All the stuff you're putting into the as property into the trust. And the nice thing about the God trust is God made you trustees of what?
Everything.
And everything therein. So do you think you have to say, okay, the property located at 203 South 10th Street is in the trust? No. You say all property owned by the man is the property of his beneficiaries. Please see attached property list. And it says all property of the man. So now if your name's on it at the county, there it is. It's in the name of the man. We don't really care, because that's what we do as state nationals, is settle the matter before we go in. Win before you go in. Determine your status, your standing, your jurisdiction. Put in your deed of reconveyance, your patent and nativity. Put those documents in. Put whatever documents you want in that doesn't contradict what we're doing. Okay, that's a key statement there. Doesn't contradict what we're doing. Put in whatever documents you want. Then when you're standing in the front of the judge, it's simple. Your Honor, in order to show my intent of what my status, my standing in my jurisdiction and my choice of inhabitants is, here are some of the things I've done. I've done this, and 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 you lay out all your documents, and I've done them over time, including authenticating the birth certificate, because that was the chiefest event. The first thing that happened in your life was you were born. So it goes back to the beginning. So these are all things done over time, even though you did it when you authenticated it when you're however old you are. I'm not going to embarrass you. Okay. And you work your way up. and you lay everything out on the table, what's he going to do? You did it over time. You did it back to your chiefest event. You've done multiple things to put them on notice. You've recorded them in the public domain where they could be found, and you've done them over time. That shows your intent, proves your intent, and intent is everything in the law. It's important to show what someone's intent was. They'll try and do that, but you got to figure out why they did that. I have not seen a court yet that I can't overcome if I want to bad enough. It depends on how much effort do I want to put in, or do I want to just take that lower court, set them up at the window, and go up there? Sometimes that's faster for me. But if I want to stick right there and shut them down, I'll keep filing documents until I shut them down, because I can overcome every objection. I could say, Your Honor, I'm here today for settlement and closure of this deal. Is there anything that I haven't done, that I am missing? Well, Your Honor, what is there to do that I could prove, that I can remain in honor to you, that we can settle this matter today? What do I need? 40 pieces of silver. There it is. Now all I got to do is provide the 40 pieces of silver. We're done here. This thing's dismissed. It's over with. I don't care what answer he comes up with. If I know, then I can handle it. And in order for me to do that, I've just got to keep at it. You see? Yeah, that's right. Would you like me to type up the order, Your Honor, so that all you have to do is sign it? I'll have it to you in the morning. It's really not that difficult. Most of us fail because we quit. Most of us fail because we don't know the right thing to do, our lack of knowledge, or we quit. Or he rules, and he rules badly, and we think it's a final decision. No order from a judge is final until 30 days later, unless it's uncontested. Add it to my book and share. There's a plaque, and it says, How to Destroy a Nation. And it was found at the entrance gate of a university of South Africa. The following message is for contemplation. It says, destroying any nation does not require the use of atomic bombs or the use of long-range missiles. It only requires lowering the quality of education and allowing students to cheat in the examination halls. The results are these. Patients die at the hands of such doctors, buildings collapse at the hands of such engineers. Monies are misappropriated at the hands of economists and accountants. Humanity dies at the hand of the scientists and astronomers. Justice is lost at the hands of those judges in the court systems. Morals and characters die in the hands of religious leaders. And the collapse of the education is the collapse of the nation. And when I read that, I thought that was incredibly profound, because it's exactly what has happened to America in the last 200 years. All around the world. Yeah. That's just part of it. Yeah, it was a very big part, but it's just one time. So. Guys, I don't know how much I need to cover. There is so much I could cover that we could go on for days. And this is the last half of the final day. And I love you guys and I miss you. And I'm going to miss you when you're gone. I always do. Thank you. So what I'd like to do is open it up to some questions. And then we'll get some mics out here because I believe questions need to be answered. And so maybe, do we only have one of these mics, Rob? Can we like put one down there and get somebody to run that half of the room and one over here to run this half of the room and let her have one first. She's had her arms starting to get heavy. Okay, hold on.
Is it on? I don't think it's on.
Yeah, thank you.
Is this? Oh, it's on. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. Can I ask my question? I have two, but they're good questions.
Okay, turn it up just hers up just a little, the blue one.
So I'm part of the unfortunate generation that has student loan debt, and I have paid it off with fiat money, the original amount. However, the interest is now that plus half of what I originally took a loan out on. And I have a lot of issue with the efficacy of that. And I know that we can do the process for giving them silver, but part of me says you don't even deserve that because you made this up. And I should just say, this is, the US government's problem because you've taken on all debt, and I don't want to deal with it on probate. I don't want to have any sort of responsibility with it at all. Any thoughts?
Yeah, HJR 192, when they confiscated our gold in 1933, we paid off all debts, and all debts are the responsibility of the United States. All debts are the responsibility of the Treasury of the United States. Janet Yellen right now is responsible for all debts. It was HJR 192. Now, judges like to say, oh, that was repealed. That was a lie when they said that. Only one paragraph was repealed, and it has nothing to do with what you and I are talking about right now. That paragraph was bull. Anyway, so they repealed that one paragraph, and judges like to go, oh, it was repealed in 1975. No, it wasn't. You can't repeal an act of Congress like that. Congress would have to repeal the act. And they didn't. So it's still in effect, it's still there. I'm not going to listen to you, Judge, because I know the fact. See? So that makes all debt the property of the United States. And there's a number of ways to discharge your debt. Silver is the true payment of discharge of debt. My wife paid off a $439,000 or something like that mortgage. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember the exact number, but approximately that. Mortgage with Chase Manhattan with a silver quarter. Pre-1964 silver quarter.
What?
I won't use quarters. I will always use a silver dollar. Always. There's a reason I do that. But even Chase knew the debt was the property of the United States and not her debt. And that the mortgage itself was created through fraud. And it always is. All mortgages are created through fraud on the decedent who's alive. It really should be this simple. We should be able to go to our local coroner and walk in his office and they say, do me a favor, you write death certificates for people that are dead, right? And you have the authority to do that? So you have the authority to determine whether someone is dead, right? Then you also have the authority to determine whether somebody's alive. And you probably in your entire career have never had the opportunity to do this, but I want you to check my pulse, check my breath, make sure my heart's beating, and then give me a certificate of life. I have talked to many coroners about that. And lawfully, he's supposed to do it because he's the only one in the county that could declare somebody dead. Then he's the only one that can really declare somebody's alive. And God, if we could get that and put it on the public record and record it, well, I think they're kind of in trouble at that point. Because I think you could take that and send it over to every bank with an affidavit and tell them that the U.S. government is responsible for all the deaths. Because you don't have the guns. You know, SWAT teams show up at your house for this shit, and they kick you out, and they put your stuff out on the curb, and they put it on social media so people come steal your stuff. Cops do that. And they'll come steal your stuff, and then they'll auction off your house, and in the time it takes you to go through the justice system, look at Renee Powers out of California. She's been fighting her foreclosure for more than 10 years, and she's won in every court in the state of California. And she still doesn't own her house. You know why? It's real simple. She had a warranty deed. And they don't want to tell her that they gave the house to the bank to be sold because the judge would have been held on patent infringement if he didn't. And I think that's one thing she never brought up.
Can I ask my second question?
Sure.
Okay. So I think everybody in this room at one point or another has been really frustrated with the fact that we all know that we're having horrible things perpetrated against us. And it's this invisible hand. As Floridians, we went through Ian, and we all know that the government, quote unquote, has the ability of building these storms up, and we have to deal with the consequences of it. And it's starting to become like pistols at dawn for me. Like, I'm going to go and deal with this because I'm getting tired of this getting worse and worse and worse and not seeing any change. When we don't know exactly who the person is that's orchestrating this, is this something that we can go through the USMJ and...
UCMJ?
Sorry, still picking up the acronyms.
Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Like, what can I do? Like, I know, like, we've all seen the stuff that's been going on in Canada with the fires. They all started at the same time. That's not a coincidence to me. How many countries do I need to watch burn before we get this to stop? And
they started all those fires from an airplane. It was super simple.
So what do we do about it to make it stop? Because I can't just keep watching it. It's hurting my heart too much.
Well, Benjamin Franklin said it pretty good. He said we all need to unite because individually we will fail, no matter how hard we try. And this is why the state national movement needs to be a movement. Right now we've got about 30 million of us. Do you know that? We're at 10% of this country, and it ain't enough yet. Now it would be, if every passport carrying member that's an American state national actually got off the couch and did something. It'd be enough people. We'd have enough already. But out of all the state nationals, look, there's an 80-20 rule in everything. 80% of the state nationals will sit on their homes, the couch, scared, watching TV. Well, 20% go out there and teach people and wake up a nation and stand up in court and try and defend themselves and each other. So, anytime there's a movement of people, look at how many people vote for a president of the United States out of 337 million in the United States. You must be a Democrat. Are you really? Just because they rented the building next to you? That was your reason? You're wearing a damn red shirt. He's done now. And not just because you're a Democrat either. No. Got to push that switch up.
That was it better? There we go. So when we have to fill out the IRS Form 56. That kind of lets them know our intention. We fill out a WBEN. The WBEN to do like if we want to go work somewhere. W8BEN.
W8BN, if you can get your employer to accept it. Some of them won't because they're not educated either.
Okay.
Okay, a lot of the payroll companies and HR companies of bigger corporations are starting to come around because we're getting so many of us. Guy that's like the second to the top in the largest payroll company in the nation is now a state national, and they're in the process of changing all their forms with boxes for being state nationals.
Okay. When you do fill out a BN, is there anything that you put in there that like lets them know, hey, I know this, or we don't sign this and mess it up? I mean, or is it pretty straightforward?
Read it, follow the instructions. For most people, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, the more you learn about how to write your address, how to write your name, how to do things, the better off you are. Because literally, the use of your zip code could screw you up if you use it wrong. Yeah. Okay, there's also another form called the W-7 with the Social Security Department, not the IRS. W-7 with the Social Security Department. You can actually go in there and change your status at the Social Security office with that form.
Thank you for taking my question. I keep throwing curveballs at you. How do you feel about, or do you have an opinion about NESARA GESARA? How do you feel, or what is your opinion on NESARA GESARA?
It's already been signed in, it's already approved, it's being implemented over a long period of time, too long. Certain things have to take place before it's fully implemented, and many of those things are being taken care of right now over the next month or two.
Fabulous, thank you.
Okay, but, all right. Okay, I knew that was going to spur some interest. All right,
Can you talk about the importance of grand juries?
the importance of grand juries. Common law grand juries. The grand jury is the fourth branch of government. All grand juries are common law grand juries. All of them. Okay, well, hold on a minute. Grand juries actually scared the hell out of the Bar Association in this nation. So the Bar Association basically denies the people access to the grand jury, which they have every right to do. Anytime there's an accusation on a person, the person has the right to confront the accuser, has the right to put on evidence, the right to put on witnesses. He has the right to his opinion. He has many, many rights called due process of the law. He has the right to due process. He has the right to fundamental fairness. And in this country, the Bar Association has hidden or subverted that remedy from you. And you don't even know who the grand jury is, and they keep it secret so you don't. The only one that knows who the grand jury is and the grand jury foreman is the district attorney in your area. So you have no ability, and lives are destroyed just because of this, guys. Just because of this, lives are destroyed. You have no ability of due process because the grand jury has been hidden or subverted from you. So therefore, the only evidence presented to the grand jury is the evidence the prosecutor puts on, and therefore the grand jury will indict whoever the prosecutor says to indict. They'll indict a ham sandwich if the prosecutor tells them to. Exactly right. See, it's all been hidden and subverted from you, and it's one of the reasons next to every courthouse there ought to be a beautiful wooden set of gallows built with plenty of rope. And I'll supply the rope. You understand that, right? That is one of my biggest pet peeves that you just hit on right there. The grand jury. Because the grand jury is supposed to be of the people, for the people, and by the people. It's supposed to be our fourth branch of government that we, the people, run and control, so we can run and control who's innocent and who's guilty before they're brought up on charges and a jury actually makes the final decision. A grand jury would get the opportunity to see the evidence, to see if there's enough clear and concise evidence to even create a bill in the first place. And what do they create? They create an indictment. An indictment is a true bill. It's the first invoice, the first notice that a debt is owed in commerce. That's what an indictment is. And a man should have the opportunity to not only confront, but to know what the penalty is if he is found guilty. That's part of due process. Do you know that? Part of due process is knowing what the penalty is right up front if he is found guilty. So that means the bill should have the amount of the penal sum on it. Look at the federal government right in the United States Code. They'll say it's a fine up to $250,000 and 5 or 10 years in prison. And they'll put it right in the United States Code. But why isn't that on the indictment? Why are we given an invoice, a true bill signed by a grand jury foreman that doesn't even have an amount on it of the penal sum? You understand how freaking crooked that is? That's something that just pisses me off so bad I just want to kill people. I'm not kidding. Hang them by a rope, shoot them with a gun, cut their throat with a knife. I really don't care. But why aren't our founding fathers wouldn't have put up with that crap? They'd have been shooting a long time ago.
Can you hear me? Yep. I want to shed a little light on your comment about wildfires earlier. Being somebody who's a prior United States Forest Service firefighter, I left the agency because I seen the corruption in there. I was another guy who went in there thinking I could fix it. By the way, the U.S. Forest Service does have a gold fringe captured flag, by the way. So that agency has been captured. And these wildfires that you're talking about that are occurring all over the United States, that is by no accident. That is by sheer design They want it that way. It's all about money, and it's about destroying the resource that the American people have left. So I encourage everybody in this room to start holding these public service agencies accountable for their actions. People need to begin holding them accountable because it's all by design. They're telling you it's weather patterns and weather changes and all that, but it's all by design, absolutely. Start holding these agencies accountable.
They designed to change the weather. Let me tell you something that I saw with my very own eyes. Off the coast of California, there are 3 shipping container shipping ships. Do you know what those are? You've seen how big a shipping container ship is, right? So imagine a ship that can ship 6 of those across the ocean. How big that is. Giant. There's 3 of those anchored and chained together off the coast of California. And on top of those great big giant shipping container shipping ships are great big fans powered by jet engines, like a 747 engine powers the fan. And these fans are on Pannin tilts. You know what that is? That's something that can direct them wherever they want. Now imagine each one of these ships with 6 of those giant fans on them. 18 fans in those 3 ships that they can take and point up at the jet stream, and they can use them to move the jet stream. And they can take that warm coastal air and then push it up into Canada, and then comes down the other side of the Rocky Mountains, and it's all nice and cold now by the time it gets up there, and then it comes down there and it freezes the hell out of Texas. And then it goes back up like this, and it goes over and it hits the Great Lakes, and all of a sudden New York and Maine and Connecticut and New Hampshire are frozen solid. And they can push that jet stream to make it do whatever it is they want to do. If they want to heat up an area that's cold, they can push that hot air right to it. Now they got cloud seeding, now they got the forest fires in the West, California, Oregon. I can remember when I was in high school, a big forest fire was about 3,000 acres. Now they're 300,000 acres. And one of the reasons is they spray aluminum and barium on it. Barium and aluminum. What is barium and aluminum?
Messes with your brain, gives you Alzheimer's in the long run.
And what does that do?
Ah!
First of all,
Ha!
it layers the ground. It reflects the sun back up. It actually makes the trees grow less, and it makes the undergrowth grow more, the fuels grow more under the forest. Then, the combination of the 2 burn hot like magnesium does. You ever take magnesium shavings? It makes it burn super hot. So now it burns so hot it sterilizes the ground when there's a forest fire. And almost nothing
Periodic
grows
table for aluminum.
afterwards. Yeah. And Bill Gates died in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, quite a while ago. And his death certificate is even on Ancestry.com. So who is Bill Gates now?
Who owns or
Who
controls?
is his wife? She's 8 or 10 inches taller, built like a man now. She used to be a little more petite and smaller. People don't believe this shit, but Joe Biden's own daughter said he died in Bethesda Medical Center over 3 years ago.
Yeah, but he can sign with a different hand now.
Hey, facial recognition software says we've had 4 of them, different ones.
Who owns or
We had 2 in one day. He gave 2 different speeches, which he doesn't even have the capacity to do, and he gave 2 speeches in 2 separate cities, and there were 2 different Bidens.
at the same time? Who owns or controls those fan ships?
Who knows? DARPA maybe? I don't know. Well, there you go. Oh, yeah, NOAA does, yeah. I'm telling you, we don't even realize what our own government's doing to us all the time.
What about the drones?
I'm going to answer that one.
At nighttime, especially here in Florida, around Tampa, there's drones that are up in the, I mean, you can't miss them. If you look up in the air, there's like 6 or 7 just around his house. And we sit there and watch them, and, you know, we shot lights up at them, and they'll come down closer and check us out. But what are those things about?
And they might show up with a SWAT team later.
Yeah, we were thinking about that, too.
Yeah, you better.
But what are those for? Do you have any
What's that?
Do you know what they're up there for?
No.
Neither do I.
No good.
Okay, I have a,
They're not up there for a good purpose. I can tell you that.
now I've been kicked off every media, social media site because I've been fighting the pharmaceutical companies, and, you know, I've been reporting. I even got the health department in Florida kicked off a social media site because I accused them of wrong, you know, incorrect information. And so
Okay, you got a question in there somewhere?
well, say what you want, say what you will. The Pope is working with Satan to kill, dividing nation, depopulation, offering salvation and gratification. Could he be a Mason? He's in the right place then. The New World Order has got his grace. You don't like that, don't show your face. Facial recognition is their ammunition, along with attrition. That's part of the mission to turn the ignition to start the transition to the New World Order, just like a magician. If you don't listen, you suffer perdition from the news that you listen. The CNN, ABC, NBC lies can't see the truth no matter how hard you try. Say it's a ground.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
You say it's a ground when you look at the sky. You say it's wrong, you'll be chastised because you're all hypnotized by Satan's great lies. Say it comes from the Pope, but it's a disguise. Now, nobody cares till somebody dies from the new vaccinations, the inoculations across every nation, down to plantations. All celebrating because they heard of ivermectin, no side effects. Hydrochloroquine you can make in your kitchen, but the leaders had their say and they took it all away. 4 shots of mRNA to change your DNA, and to your dismay, in your body it will stay. Reproduces, runs astray, your organs all decay. You die before your grave. You die before your grave. So you better wear a mask. Fauci is a quack. He's always been a hack. Docs get all the flack from the woke demon rats. You know who you are. Put your vaccine, you gotta be clean, you got a machine that looks for a gene, but you're full of graphene oxide, that's the thing. They can find you anywhere you go. Pfizer, Schwab, and Gates working to depopulate all the countries in the state. No way to alleviate the pain of starving. Now, genocidal maniacs are coming after you. After hearing this, you should know what to do. They come at you with a swab and a jab. You're not a cat, rat, ferret, and you're not in a lab.
Hey, all right. You need to see Katie before the day is done. And let's get those things professionally produced. I bet you do. I have no doubt about it. But we need to get that stuff professionally produced and out there. Hey, exactly. I'm trying to get Katie to do that too. All right. Who's next?
One is,
This is your last one, so make it good. I'm
Hello,
stealing
hello.
the mic from you.
can you hear me? Okay. One is double citizen. And one citizenship is acquired at birth, and the other one later on. Is in a need to go to have at the first country where he was born to stand for his status and jurisdiction first, or has to go on both countries?
Okay, he's asking me about dual citizenship. What really has to happen here? Well, that is not my decision to make for somebody. That is their decision to make. I look at it like this. Did you have a choice in where you were born, or was that your parents' choice? It was theirs. That's where they chose to inhabit. That was their right of self-determination, their free agency. You may not care about where you were born, but you want to live over here. This is your choice of inhabitants, this square foot of earth, right? It's your choice. And it's your choice whether you want to claim that one too or not. I don't really care to claim California. That's where I was born. Right now, my choice of inhabitants is Texas. So I am a Texan. Because I chose to inhabit there. I'm not a Californian anymore, even if my birth certificate says State of California, County of Santa Clara, City of Gilroy. I don't care. It's your choice. Nobody determines that for you.
What I meant to say is there is a procedure as such?
Yes?
And do I have to go first on one or on the other, or I can choose whatever
You've got to
I
make a
want?
declaration of inhabitants
Okay.
through an affidavit process to whoever the power that be who supposedly has the guns and governs that area. See, it's all about the guys with the guns. You don't argue with a guy with a gun on the side of the road. It's not who you take that crap up with. But if they've got, everybody asks me, says, gosh, if we're men and women under God, and I can do whatever I want, why do I have to tell them? Because they're freaking Rome. They're Caesar. They got the guns. They got the ability to hang you from the cross. So let them know what your choice is. You got to do the paperwork. You're the one that's been checkmarking boxes wrong. You got to undo those corrections and correct your errors. Undo those errors and correct them with your self-determination of who you are, what you want to be, what you believe. All those things need to be put down on paper, put on the public record, notice to the right people, and then by God stand upon those rights. Otherwise, guys with guns will come for you. See what I mean? That's why we go through this crap. Because if we were just all living under God and didn't care about guys with guns, we don't need any of this shit.
Just to not misunderstand, I was born in Romania, became multi-citizen. Can I self-determine myself to start the process of becoming a sovereign and a free man here in Texas?
Yeah.
Florida. Can I do that?
Except he's thinking of buying a piece of property in Texas. We don't care about here.
No, can I?
This is below sea level.
I can do that. It's true. I can do that.
Yes.
Even if, oh, that's amazing.
Okay. You're next.
Okay, so I have it on.
Okay. Yeah, but you got to put it right to your mouth. Those kind of mics, man. I hate them. That's why I got Rob to buy me this one.
So I don't want the guns coming after me, so I have a few questions. I have a corporation self-directed IRA. Do I need to pay taxes on that if I pull it out?
Most of them are automatically going to withhold from you.
Directed.
Okay, self-directed, send it on over. That's my recommendation.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What a great place.
I was going to do.
Yep.
All right, and then income is what you stated earlier, which I have heard, is I put in money from my IRA into an investment. That piece that I made, I have to pay taxes on.
Yeah, that little piece that you made. Unless you invested gold or silver.
Which I'm going to. As far as taxes for 2022,
I'm an ASN now. Do I need to pay those taxes if I file 56?
Did you file an extension?
Yes, I did.
Then you filed a promise to pay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're a little bit screwed.
Yeah.
But you can go back and amend your return. And my suggestion, just for fun, is make it negative numbers.
Well, my CPA did it for me. I didn't sign
Well, that's
anything.
okay. They're one of the biggest criminals there are.
I didn't sign the form.
It's not their fault. They didn't know any better. It's how they were trained. They went to college for 4 years to learn to screw you.
I don't want to use my CPA any longer.
I wouldn't either.
I filed an extension. He did. I didn't sign it. So how do I tell him I'm not going to utilize him any longer? And I don't want him to tell on me because I'm assuming he might say something, right?
Now you're just worried about his feelings.
Well-
Stop it. Send him a box of chocolates and a card that says, I'm not going to need your services any longer. I really appreciated doing business with you, and you've been a great friend. You're welcome to call me for tea. And no other purpose is necessary.
Okay.
Let me tell you what freedom is, can I, for just a moment? Freedom is when you have access to your trust. Freedom is when you can go to the ATM and pull out $2,500 a day if you want. Freedom is when you go to buy something and you don't worry about the price. And you buy for all your friends if you want to. And you don't even ask for a freaking receipt because you're not going to keep track of it anyway. There's no accounting to be done. There's no taxes to be filed. You don't really give a crap about money. That's what freedom is. That's how I operate. You just do what you have to do the things you want to do. Use your creative mind and go do something great. You don't have to work for somebody. You don't need a JOB. You don't care about your damn utility bill or your rent or your house payment. You don't care about any of that. Because all that gets taken by this process of becoming a non-minor. I'm the only adult in the room, you guys. What's that? Yeah. Happy Father's Day to you too. You know, I raised 10 children. I got 17 grandkids because my dad said, do what you're good at. What's that? Yeah. All right.
David, this mic down here says there's a mic down there that gets to go first.
Okay.
And then this woman right there with the blonde hair and the orange and green pretty dress. Bring that mic up to her next, and then I'll go with mine.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Okay. I have actually a two-part question. First of all, I'd like to know where do I get more information about paying debt with silver? And do I need to complete the state national process before I can do that?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question the same way I always answer this question, and it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. He happens to be talking about debt and silver. The subject matter of the last part of his question is this. Yeah, you can do it when you're a citizen, or you can do it when you're a state national. You just can't defend it as a citizen. It's that simple. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I answer those questions the same every time. Now, where can you get more information about silver? I don't know. Us, buy the book, go online. It's on the thumb drive. Okay, cool. We're trying to make all this stuff available for you. This took me years to compile. Hold on. Where the heck is Okaloosa County? That might be Florida somewhere, right? Well, we have a young lady, right after Bonnie and I got married in Hawaii, our next seminar, we did 5 seminars without going home. Because back then I was doing them almost every weekend. We did 2 for Rob, or with Rob, I think, out of those. But right after Hawaii, I flew to Florida and put on a seminar. No, it was in September, the first week of September, or the second week. It would have been the second week of September, 2021. And there was a lady in our class, and she was pretty smart, pretty knowledgeable. Her name is Ann. I love Ann. Okay, she's a great lady, and she's gone through hell, by the way, and she's overcome most all of it. She's really good. But back then, my brand new wife stood up there and talked about debt discharge with silver, and I'm in the corner going, don't say that. Don't get into that. Just stop it, please. I'm praying to God that she'll quit. But she didn't. And now I'm kind of glad she did. Because it was a benefit to Ann. And Ann took what Bonnie said, and she wrote one of the most beautiful little letters. And I'll read it to you. Dear Okaloosa County Water and Sewer. And she put created by at the top. She followed Bonnie's explanation on the board to a T. Okay? First, please accept this silver coin as full payment for the outstanding balance for the Okaloosa County Utilities bill for solid waste, recycling, sewer, and water charges. Second, please forward this payment together with instructions to your bank headquarters corporate legal department to discharge the debt using the hereto attached silver coin and authorize the trust payment for all foregoing debt. Third, all debts are the responsibility of the United States, and I have the authority as executor and beneficiary of the all caps named trust to dissolve and discharge the Okaloosa County Utilities debts. However, if there is a change in the laws that I am unaware of, please notice the affixed silver coin used as lawful consideration for this debt. Within this letter, you will find a 0.9 troy ounce silver coin to consider all debts paid in full, linked to the account number, blah, 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 blah. Please contact me if you need any further instructions related to this matter. Autographed by and her name as the trust executor and beneficiary of the all caps named trust, all rights reserved without waiving any. Then she typed in 0.9 troy ounce silver coin and she taped it to the paper. All my sworn facts are true and correct to the best of my memory, and all statements are made in good faith and sworn to under penalty of perjury and common law, and I reserve all my God-given rights. Signs her name, puts her thumbprint, my autograph and thumbprint as the beneficiary and sole heir of the all caps named trust is an honorable, living, Floridian American national woman created
Email
in the
number
image
3.
of Yahweh. See Genesis 1:23, or I think it's, you know what it is, 26 or 28, I think it says. Address and care of, and then she put her commercial address. Had a notarized state of Florida before me, a notary public on this day personally appeared. This woman showed me necessary identification. I witnessed the autograph of the document on the 15th day of the month of September of the year of our Lord, 2021.
Just sent the third one.
Public notary signature, commission expires on 7/15/24.
Your Majesty.
And then
Period.
it's got her seal on it. She sent it in. Her utility bills were discharged, and she never had to pay a utility bill after that. Now, handcuffs, or if he wants to learn and understand the law when we explain it to him. Or if he just doesn't give a crap and he's just got one more ticket to write that day and he could be done. Because they all have quotas. So on and on and on. We don't know the receiver, and this is where state nationals fail. They'll go send their stuff sometimes to even the wrong place. They don't see how she had to instruct them to take it to her, the utility company's bank's corporate legal department? Because nobody processing a utility bill at the utility company knows what the hell to do with it. So you got to get it to the right person at the right place to make it work. And this is why it worked for her, because she did it perfectly, and it was taken to the right place. But that doesn't even mean who she sent it to at the utility company is going to get it to the corporate legal department of their bank. Some of those guys don't even know who the utility company banks with. And so failures happen. And then state nationals who fail miserably say that shit David Straight teaches just doesn't work. The problem is we proved it over and over and over again that it works, so if it doesn't work, don't quit. Don't get off the battlefield until you're dead and have to be dragged off. Keep fighting. If it didn't go to the right person the first time, make 14 copies and send it to all of them. You see what I'm saying? You got to get it to the right receiver at the end of the field who's experienced in his job and knows what to do with it. And then he'll tuck it under his arm and duck down and run real fast, and you'll get to the end zone and you're a winner. The reason we fail is not because we're not doing things right. The reason we fail is because we quit along the way most of the time. Or we just don't get it to the right person. Here's one right here that paid off a mortgage with a silver dollar. Okay? I'm telling you. We do this stuff, it works if you get it to the right place. To the right person who can do that. And believe me, if you're dealing with a major bank like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, U.S. Bank, quite a few other large banks, UBS, whatever, and you get it to their corporate legal department, they know what to do with it. And it'll work. If you get it at a credit union, well, probably won't work. Because all credit unions are underwritten by one of the large banks, but they won't bother to take it to that underwriter bank's corporate legal department to make it happen for you. They're just too lazy. And maybe you didn't instruct them to do that, and they didn't know to do it. You see what I mean? This is the issue. I love dogs. Okay.
Actually, the woman in front of the big fellow with the gray shirt with the blonde hair.
She's been here for a while by herself.
Yeah, we'll do her and then her and then you, Mike.
Okay, real quick.
You're right, buddy.
I think I've already heard this, but when you just said the Social Security Form F, that doesn't affect your check if you're receiving any Social Security, correct? If you just change your status?
Social Security is a private annuity contract. Government can't interfere in the obligations of contract. People ask me this questions regarding the military, pensions, all kinds of different things. Once you've signed a contract, then they have a obligation, but a promise to perform, right? Is what I was trying to get out of my mouth. My lips are starting to stick together, though. I'm not drinking enough, and my ribs are starting to cramp up.
Okay, so
'Cause
let's
you're
go.
a chiropractor, right? Yeah, I need a neck adjustment afterwards.
So let's go to about 5:15, David, since you are experiencing some stuff there. So we're going to have
No,
a
it's
few more
okay.
questions. Are you all right?
Yeah.
Because it's almost 5 o'clock. just FYI.
You understand I was taught to deal with pain.
Yes, I
Most of the time,
do,
people don't even
but
know I'm in it.
I know, I do know that, but I
Okay.
don't want you to be in a lot of pain today.
Yeah,
But
don't
go
worry about
ahead.
that. Don't worry about that crap.
Yes, and also, can you talk a little bit more about how we should be signing our autograph, signatures?
Every jurisdiction is different. How you sign it, what color you sign it in, where you sign it on the page. Those all have to be learned. All those things. The reason I can't do it at every seminar, there's too much to teach, first of all. So you could go back over all my old videos and you can pick these things out where I've taught a lesson on just that. But I can't do it every weekend at every seminar. So I encourage you to watch videos over and over and over again. I know guys that watch for 40 freaking hours. I got some border patrol agents down in Arizona where that's all this whole crew does every day driving their trucks along the border in Arizona is listen to me. And they're all state nationals now. They've all done all their paperwork. I know it's a little hard to find sometimes. There's too many disinformation agents out there like Warden, Simon, those guys. Anyway, Wayne Willett. Okay, go ahead. Oh, it's your turn. Finally.
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 So I think we all want to try to leave on a high note. So if any nugget you can share as far as military tribunals, when they started, is Hollywood disappeared? Are they gone?
Military tribunals started in 2017. They've been ongoing. Guantanamo Bay, Cuba is not a holding facility, it's a processing facility for fish food. They try them, shoot them or hang them, and then there's no cemeteries over there.
Real Raw News
They go out in the
telling,
bay and
is
they feed
recording
big
it.
sharks. What?
Real Raw News, Mike Baxter. Any truth to?
Oh, how do I say this without getting in trouble? He's got some inside connections just like I do, and he brings a lot of truth to the marketplace. Okay? A lot of it.
Really,
Okay.
I'm really pumped. I can leave now.
All right, David?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Where are we at?
right here.
Oh, God, it's your turn? I love you, bud.
Look, all the questions
1950
asked are
silver
not for me,
dollar.
it's for
I
the
know,
benefit of
I know.
everybody else, you know that.
I know.
I already know all this stuff like
That's social media.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, just 20 questions, and that'll be quick. A couple of quick ones. On the dual citizenship issue, we hear about that a lot. My wife's dual citizen, Venezuela and Italy, but she's a legal citizen, resident here, Florida. When it comes back now to national and a U.S. citizen, would that be a dual citizenship where a person could actually have a citizenship of both?
Okay. Thank you for asking that. First of all, let me clarify something right now, because a lot of people are out there screwing up, and he just reminded me. In Title 8, Section 1101, which is definitions of status, okay? You could be a U.S. citizen or you could be a U.S. national. You can be a state citizen or you can be a state national. There's lots of different statuses, but there's only one with limited diplomatic immunity as per the Geneva Conventions. And that is a small letter state national. See, you got to remember, there's different jurisdictions. State, or state.
So the question would remain with me, can a person be a middle state national and also have a dual citizenship as a state national and also as a U.S. citizen?
No. And why the hell would you?
Well, as you know, we have...
One's a slave and one's a sovereign. You can't be the king and be a pauper.
As you know, we have a dear friend, I'm going to mention his name, Eric Gingis, who indicates that...
and you know what I think?
I know.
Okay.
So I wanted to have that on record.
Hey,
with
I'm not going
regards
to disparage anybody.
No, it's not to disparage Eric either, because I appreciate Eric Gingis tremendously. He's a great guy and he's very knowledgeable. But because of a lot of the conversations we had were on the idea that a person chooses, because they are the authority, right? So they choose what they are. They choose if they're a national or a citizen at any given time based on the
They could be a slave or a king. It's up to them.
Right, and therefore that question, that's what raises that question. Well, therefore...
But you can't be both.
You can operate in both?
No, you can't. You can operate in the capacity of both a person and a man, but you can't operate in the capacity as a U.S. citizen.
Thank you,
and
David.
a state national.
Beautiful. That's the clarification that needed to be made.
Right.
Right there. And then a question came up when I was at lunch today with two other people about if the world's coming to an end, if we're all going to be 700.
The world's not coming to an end. It's going to survive.
Well, if we're coming to an end in Florida, we're going to be 700 feet under.
Oh, you better learn how to swim.
What would be the purpose of going through the process? Because people are asking that. Why go through it if everything's going to come to hell? This is for those
I'm going to say this one time only. The more paper we pile up at the State Department, the better off everyone. Do something for others, pile up a whole lot of paper at the State Department. They've already got 3 shipping containers out back full, waiting to be processed. Okay? Do you know what 30 million times 35 pages of paper looks like? It tends to make an impression. And these impressions are what changes the world. When we get together, 30 million people, and say enough is enough, I'm jumping off this citizenship and I'm repudiating it. See, that word, repudiation, that is so important. It's so important President Trump put it twice in his second Declaration of Independence. The second Declaration of Independence. He put it in there twice. Why is the word repudiate so important? What does it mean? It means, and I'm going to cover this. Let's just take this room full of people as representative of people of the United States of America, or the United States. I don't care what of. Florida, doesn't matter. And the members of this group, and I want to be a member of this group, of this society of people here, but you're putting people in prison wrongly, and you're attacking them on the road, and you're forcing vaccines, and you're committing genocide, and all manner of crimes that the United States government has committed, going to war over politics, money, or oil. There's many, we've killed millions of people. We've killed more than Stalin, Hitler, and Mao combined in our wars. Just stopping a cancer cure, stopping a heart disease. We can cure cancer. We can stop heart disease. We can eliminate most of the problems that people die from, and we have the technology to do it real easily. Okay? So the United States government suppresses the cancer cures. And man, we even say cure cancer on, and we're a target. I know a holistic doctor that cures people. And the jail my wife just got transferred from, she's sentenced 9 years in prison by the AMA for helping people. Because the AMA is evil, and they weaponize our judicial system to put an innocent woman who has done nothing to anybody but help them. No victim, no nothing. And her husband didn't even know where she was for over a year until she talked to Bonnie because she couldn't even use the phone. And he didn't know where she was. He hadn't seen her since she walked out the back door of the courtroom the day she was sentenced. And they just moved her around. So nobody knew where she was. She was locked up in the Texas Department of Corrections
God in heaven, man.
prison system somewhere. He didn't know whether she was alive or dead. This is his wife of 20 years. And Bonnie called me, because she could, said, here's her name, here's her prisoner number, here's her husband's name, here's her husband's phone number. Would you give him a call, honey? Tell him happy anniversary from his wife. Today's their anniversary, and tell him his wife loves him. Understand, that's what hidden grand juries do. That's what bad DAs do. That's what the AMA did. It separated, destroyed that family, cost them more than $150,000 in attorney fees, put her in jail for more than a year already with a 9-year sentence. And she did nothing wrong. And if I had the ability, I'd drive a tank right through that freaking place and get her ass out of there. You understand that, right? Shut down the judicial system. Help me. Shut it down. Start calling out every criminal in every county in America. Every one of these damn DIA offices should be burned to the ground, in my opinion. But I can't do violence. We've got to hit them with a pen. We've got to be peaceful. That's why we fly the peace flag. We've got to do everything in our power that we can do that is peaceful first. And when that doesn't work, we show that it doesn't work, and we let the American people make a decision to alter, reform, or abolish. And abolish has sounded better and better every day.
So that document that was written after 120 years, what was that called?
A remonstrance.
And that's what we can do to help with that?
They can. All right. Who's got the next mic and the next hand up?
Question.
Okay.
I have a question right here.
Oh, you again?
Yes.
Who gave you the mic twice? Stop it. All right.
So the company
Figures.
the company I contract with will not sign a contract with me so I can start a PMA. So I would not be able to, I would have to pay taxes on the money I earn from that company that I contract with for my living.
They're only paying you what? Debt. Girls, we got to figure this shit out. You keep thinking like a debtor, not a creditor.
So if I start a PMA, I don't need to pay taxes on that because, yeah, got it.
Exactly. You know, some industries are very heavily regulated, like a building contractor. You know why a building contractor is heavily regulated today? Because the United States government in the 1960s and 1970s spent billions of dollars in advertising to tell the consumer to not trust an unlicensed contractor. Unlicensed contractors steal from people as much or more than unlicensed contractors. There's absolutely no different. It's dependent upon the man, and is he honest or is he not? It is not the license that makes him honest or not. So they spent billions of dollars to convince the general public not to hire somebody unlicensed. Believe me, if I want good work done at a good price where they go over and above in their service, I hire an unlicensed contractor and I give them cash. And I've never, ever once regretted it. I've hired many contractors that were licensed and legal. And there's many, many times I've regretted it. All right.
Here.
Hold on. Right there first.
Test, test, okay. So, David, there's a lot of places, organizations, groups, websites that are popping up that are providing training for ASNs. And so I think there's some confusing and conflicting information out there as well.
There is.
So I want to be sure that we, where is the most comprehensive place for people to go?
The vendors I bring to you.
Okay. Thank you.
It is that simple. I trust these vendors. They're good people. There's a lot that aren't. There's some that aren't here. Okay? So, know that their job is hard. Know that there's growing pains. With 30 million state nationals, there's a lot of people that are popping up. We can't control it. It's out of control. It's like starting a forest fire you can't put out. And that's just the way it's going to be. That's the growing pains that there is. So learn from people you trust, question them, see if they know the answers. If they can't stand up here, seminar after seminar after seminar, being thrown questions hundreds of times and be able to answer all the dang questions, then they don't know enough yet. Okay? So, all right. Who is next? Okay.
So my wife wants me to ask, how do we start this type of revolution rolling in, say, China, where she's from? She wants to be able to help people like her mother, her brother, start this process and become free people, especially inside of something that's operating under the crush of the CCP.
Thank you very much for asking that. I've been to China lots of times. I love China. I've been to Nanjing and Shanghai and Beijing and up along the wall. I've been all the way to the west. China has a lot of different cultures. It has a lot of different people, a lot of different languages, and it's got a lot of people. Most of the cities are really big. Unfortunately, a lot of them are on the east coast of China. And that's going to be a little bit of a problem in the very near future. So if they're up in the mountains, if they're a higher elevation, if they're farther west, they'll be okay. But China's going to have the same problem the U.S. is going to have. So is a lot of the rest of the world. And I'm not kidding. Okay? I had quite a few people come to me this morning and said after what I said yesterday, they went and did some research. And they're finding it everywhere. In fact, Katie found a really good article last night and sent it over to me by text. And I read it and I go, yeah, that guy's pretty spot on. Yeah. So it's going to be all over. So as far as China's concerned, there's several problems. China has roughly 2 billion people. I'm going to show you first why China is a freer country than the United States. Okay? China has roughly 2 billion people, right? What's that? Okay. That is 6 times more people, 6 times more than the United States. 6 times more people. Is that all it is now? Well, that means that means the jab over there has worked better than it has here. If they're down to that population, I think I was there the last time in about 2011. They were at 2 billion then. Our nation, we're not at 337 million anymore either, guys. Did you know that? Our population has been falling dramatically. Okay, I'm still going to use this figure because it doesn't really matter anyway. Nice round numbers. I still bet it has 6 times the amount of people the US does, right? Okay, China, when I was there last, had approximately 500,000 people in prison. We have 3 million. That's 6 times more. We have 6 times less the population, and we have 6 times more prisoners in prison. Which is the freer country?
Yeah.
That's how many prisoners we're up to. No, they don't. I had 50 years of, I was 50 years old. I'm 60 now. 10 years ago. No, I was, yeah. So it wasn't 2011. It was 2013. That was the first time I went to China. I've been there 5 times. And I went there 5 times in 2 years. I had 50 years of misconceptions about China because I listened to American propaganda about China. And then I went to China and I learned some very important things. One, they don't have nursing homes. It's a sin for their old people to die in a hospital or alone. They come home with them, they're surrounded by family, their children and their grandchildren. We put them in nursing homes and forget about our elderly. That's one. Second, they're incredibly trusting. I met dairy farmers over there who I talked to for just a few hours about hydroponics to feed their cattle and how they could raise better cattle. And I talked to these dairy farmers, and they would ask me to wait, and they'd go in their house, and they'd bring out a box full of cash with their daughter, and said, my daughter wants to go to college. I'd like her to go to the University of California. Would you take this cash and get her enrolled and buy her a house? I said, first of all, I can't take all this cash on an airplane. Second of all, it's your daughter. I've never even met her till just now. Third, how the hell do you trust me when you just met me that I won't run off with the cash? Yeah, this actually happened. It's crazy. They're good people. I go to a restaurant with a group of engineers while I was over there in Nanjing. These engineers, I heard how poor the Chinese people were. These engineers are living in $1 million apartments in town. They're driving $80,000 cars, which they paid a $10,000 tax to the CCP on. They've got the top of the line Apple laptops, beautiful briefcases. They go into a lunch with about 8 of us, and they spend $3,000 on lunch. And the tables are round, and they're in an individual room, and you got about this much room to eat, and then it's a lazy Susan, and the waitress just comes, puts everything on the lazy Susan, and people sit around and do this and eat, pile it on their plate and eat, dish after dish after dish, alcohol after alcohol. I don't even drink, but man, they were trying to force me to drink. They like to get Americans drunk so they can take advantage of them, but that's okay. For the most part, they're honest. We pull up the restaurant in the parking lot right up by the sidewalk, and the sidewalk's as wide as this room, and there's thousands of people walking down the sidewalk in front of the restaurant. And these engineers get out of the car. I'm sitting in the limo seat, right, the passenger's rear seat. They all get out of their cars. They start walking towards the restroom. Come on, come on. And I'm going, well, my laptop's right here. Your laptops are sitting on a seat. There's an expensive camera in the middle. Aren't you guys going to roll up the windows and lock the doors? What about all these people? Because in New York, could you imagine that? All right. Or LA. So anyway, they got all this expensive equipment just lying on the seats. The windows are all the way down. And they're going into the restaurant to have lunch for 2 hours. They take 2-hour lunch breaks. They go to work really early, take 2-hour lunch breaks where they socialize, and stay to work really late. And they're going to be in a little room without any windows in a restaurant where they can't see their vehicle, and thousands of people walking in front. And I said, hey, hold on a minute. Aren't you going to go roll up the windows when somebody steals them? And they look at me all weird like, no Chinamen put their hand in this car. They're not going to, no. They're not going to steal anything. I said, in America, it'd be gone in 5 minutes. Probably the car, too. And they said, no, no, no. One Chinese man on the sidewalk, he put his hand in his car, 14 of them tackle him, hold him for the police, and beat him up. I went all over the place in China, traveled all over. Never saw one cop on the highways. Not one. Not one on the streets. The only place I saw them is in the train station, driving golf carts without a gun on, no duty belt, no armored vest, no nothing, just in their cute little uniform, all skinny-like, or on the sidewalk in town. Now, the ones that stand on the corners of the sidewalk in town, they don't have guns on either. They stand there in their uniform, and when a little old lady needs help cross the street, that's what they do. Or when a tourist comes by, how can I help you? You know where you're going? And that's their job. That's the difference between our police and theirs. Sure, they'll have what looks like a car that's a piece of plywood on the side of the road, all painted like a police car, and it says police on there in Chinese, and it says, please slow down and protect your neighbor. That's their cop car, that's their law enforcement on the freeway. Plywood. China's so much better than here. The food's fresh. It's so, I don't eat pork anymore.
I'm attending an online seminar, comma. May I call you back in an hour or so? Question mark.
with an 8-foot long stick and chase them everywhere all day long. They got to walk and eat and walk to drink and walk. American farmers, their hogs are laying in the mud. They eat out of the trough. They go to sleep. They get fat, and they're just fat, blubbery, awful. Chinese bacon's cut real thick. It's almost like eating a bacon steak.
Message from us, Rusty.
It's like perfection. You come back here, I had to quit eating bacon. This shit sucks.
Hey, just checking on you. Give me a call. Bye. Click here. 14,699,000,000.
I've been just about everywhere from,
to listen to full voice
and
message.
I like it. And I think the Chinese people are good and honest people for the most part. Okay, the Communist Chinese Party. That's a different story. But guess what? There's about 1 million of them. Out of that many. They all drive black Audis, and no one else will buy one because they want to know when a government agent is coming. So the government agent shows up in a black Audi, and no one else will buy one, just so they know when they're coming. And that way, they can turn the other way, not look. You can see them from miles. That's the cool thing. Second of all, they pay the CCP well. So those guys spend most of their time sitting around, smoking cigarettes and going down to Macau and gambling and bringing in pretty women and just doing whatever the hell it is they want, unless they're in that military mode. And then they go into that. But most of the time they sit around and do nothing and won't even bother the people, unless the people are standing up hard and protesting. That's the only time. You start looking at China compared to here, where police brutality is off the charts here. You know how many police officers have been arrested in the United States this year alone for police brutality and been taken off the job? They murdered that kid in Utah. Absolute murder. You know how we know? I'll tell you how we know. I got a hell of a team of investigative people. I was in intelligence for 30 years. How do they know? No. We know because 3 of the police officers transferred title of their house within 2 weeks of that murder. 1 to a wife, 1 to a sister, and 1 to a mother. That's 3 out of the 5 of them. Owned homes and transferred title. I think that was premeditated. And I'll bet the evidence could prove that real easy. And they've been removed from their positions.
CCP is evil. CCP evil.
CCP is
not
evil.
the Chinese.
American Congress, evil.
Oh, yeah.
There is no difference.
Yeah.
American justice system, evil. American police, evil. More evil is the point I'm trying to get across. These guys are recognizable. They're few in numbers compared to the population. They're recognizable. They do less damage, which is a freer country. Sure, they're evil. So is Congress. So is our justice system. 65% of this number does not belong in prison. Open the doors, let them out, put in some judges, we'll be fair. I get a little worked up over this crap. From me, I guess. There might be a place you can get one. What will it accomplish when the people are ready? He cannot look like a dictator. Okay, go ahead, hon.
First of all, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you. I want to thank you for your knowledge. I want to thank you for what you do, for the risks you take to share this information with us, because I only discovered you about a month ago, and I am blown away.
Real new.
I am blown away. So needless to say, I have much to learn. So I know we covered this topic, the dual citizenship topic or dual nationalist topic. So if you are born in a different country, you live in a different country, you have relatives in yet a third country, can you be a nationalist in each of those places at the same time?
Why do you need to?
Well, what if I
If
want
I'm a Texan and I got relatives in England or Malta or anywhere else, and I want to go there and I want to visit them, all I do is whip out my American State National Passport. And that's another thing about China. When I got to the airport, I'm answering your question by answering hers too. When I got to the airport in China and I whipped out my passport and they scanned it, I had people coming out of doors I didn't know were there. And they came out of doors, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh shit, what did I do wrong? And what happened was they grabbed my bags. Follow us. Do you know where you're going? Do you have ground transportation? Have you arranged a hotel? Are you hungry? Is there anything you need to eat or drink? And I went, holy crap. They treated me like royalty. Took me downstairs, which was a half a mile away, and put me, I don't think of myself that way, and put me on a train headed for Nanjing. So I went into Shanghai on a train for Nanjing. Trains are beautiful over there. Oh my gosh. We're talking about taking a train from here when we leave up to Washington, D.C. And I'm going, all right, we got to get there at noon to put the car on the train. It doesn't leave till 5. It's 15 hours. And then we're in Washington, D.C. It only takes me 11 hours to drive there. By the time I'm done, I've spent 20 hours to ride the train for 15 or more, maybe 24 hours. And I could drive there in 11. Why should I do that? In China, you get on the train, you sit in a beautiful, comfy lounge chair, and you put your feet up. They come by and they bring you drinks and bring you peanuts and bring you watermelon and snacks, and you sit there, and it starts at 0 miles per hour, and at the front of the car is a speedometer in kilometers per hour. And it starts off at 0, and it starts to take off, and it's perfectly smooth. You don't even feel it. And it's going 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300 kilometers per hour.
180 miles an hour.
And it was like sitting in a Cadillac getting up to 20. It was beautiful. And what would have took you 8 hours to drive, you're there in an hour and a half. At 300 kilometers an hour, riding on a cushion of beautiful air, looking out at the countryside. I said, well, what the hell's wrong in America? No, I'll tell you what's wrong. Over there, they spend money on the people's will to get somewhere faster. Over here, they say, oh, we could do that, we could afford it, but I think we should take 40% and tax it, and, well, then we could build a new house. And a person that comes to Congress and makes $170,000 a year that walked in with a $2 million net worth, walks out 10 years later with a $50 million net worth on a $200,000 a year salary, $170,000 a year salary. You tell me how that shit adds up. The same way when I go to my own county and the judge is making $180,000 to $200,000 a year, and I drive by his house, and it's a $3 million house. And I know that I make a hell of a lot more than he does by like 6 times, and I can't afford his house. Then where the hell did he get the money? How's a sheriff in Cache County, Utah, build a $2.5 million on the house on the hill on a sheriff's salary of $110,000 when his wife doesn't work and he didn't inherit it? I'm trying to tell you,
Hey, David,
Okay. Gosh, this is
5:30.
going on the internet.
5:30.
So when are we quitting?
Well, we got to give some stuff away.
Okay, we gotta get some stuff handled.
And there's one lady back here. I think we should take this one lady, and then we need to give some stuff away, and then we need to let these folks.
No, we got one thing to
One
do
thing
after we
Oh,
give
do
the
we?
stuff away and
Okay.
before we all leave. One
Okay.
little thing.
Okay.
Go ahead. You got a mic? Well, what the heck? How long you been sitting there with your hand up without a mic? Smack these guys.
Regarding discharging debt, streamline the process. Can you access Edgar into the 10K and 8K process and capture the trustee of the particular bank? You know, where you're finding the legal person to send your discharge debt to.
First of all, I hate talking about debt discharge.
I'm sorry.
Now, there's a reason I hate talking about debt discharge. You shouldn't be in it anyway, and you can't pay it off. Unless you pay it off with silver. It's the only way you can discharge debt. I've already told you that using Federal Reserve notes does not discharge a debt. It tenders it for a later date. Probate. After you die and they receive a death certificate, your estate goes through probate, and I don't mean your house. I'm talking about your Cesta QV trust goes through probate. Everything you've ever done your entire life, every dollar you've ever earned has been kept track of. Everything you've ever spent has been kept track of. They know how much you paid for every house you ever bought, every car you ever bought, every credit card, because none of it, the debt got discharged.
Right.
If you declared bankruptcy during your life, it got discharged to that point and no further. See? Because bankruptcy is probate while you're alive. It's still probate. It's still, everything's based on the Cesta QV. So understand, nothing you've ever done your whole life, any debt you've ever paid off, you haven't paid off. They kept track of it on the debt. It all comes out of your trust. That's the only way the bank on the reserve level can operate. And I read that to you in Title 12, Section 411.
Okay, thank you. The other part is, wouldn't a claim of lien be a quicker way to hold corrupt officials accountable?
Start leaning up judges, and I'll see you over there with Bruce Duquette for 60 years. The punishment is 60 years in prison. Ask Heather Antucci, ask Bruce Duquette in the Colorado 9, ask William Shrout. I mean, I could probably go on for half an hour if I thought about all of the people that have done that shit. It ain't the right way to go about it. I don't teach it. If a process is in the FBI's manual for law enforcement on sovereign citizens, I don't teach it. Because that's the shit you go to jail for. Like those 1099 processes and all that crap. Read the damn manual, and if you're doing something that's in that manual, well, you might get away with it for a year or two or three. Pretty soon there's going to be a knock at your door, and it's usually at 2 o'clock in the morning, jerking you out of bed in your underwear and getting locked away in a little room for a long period of time. Don't do that crap. And that's why I only teach the processes I teach, because they're the processes that work and nothing else. There's other stuff that'll work. I can give you example after example of the 1099 crap that Hauser's doing. Every decade I've watched this cycle for 30 years plus. I'm going on my 4th cycle of watching this happen. Some guru comes out with a process and it works until it doesn't. And then people start quitting, then it's forgotten about, and the next 10 years somebody comes out with a process and it works until it doesn't work. And I'll tell you the difference between working and doesn't work. If over your lifetime you've paid $50,000 in income tax, and you start doing the 1099 process, and maybe you go buy a $20,000 car, and you pay off another $20,000 in credit card bills, and then maybe another $10,000 in student loans and hospital bills or whatever. And then all of a sudden you go do $5,000 on something, and you go pay it off with a 1099. They know that their income tax program was illegal from the beginning. And they know that every dime you've ever paid in, you are due back. And I have letters that show it from the IRS, that they owe you all that money back. And you can actually get it back. You can go back 3 years and get it, and then you can go back 10, and then you can go back to the beginning. You have to do that 3-step process, and you can get every dime you've ever paid in the IRS back if you want to go through all that shit and hassle. I tend to focus on the positive, say, what can I do? The money comes in, I don't worry about going backwards. I chalk it up to expensive education, like the $9 million in property I lost when the housing market crashed. My education has been very, very expensive on my part. But I always want to move forward and be positive and go do what's right. Not concentrate on that negative shit in the past. That ain't me. So anyway, now all of a sudden you've collected, they've had to pay out more than you paid in. Oh, now you could go to jail. It worked here and it worked here and it worked here, and now you just went over the amount they actually owed you. And now you just stole $5,000 in this example from the IRS. Go to jail. And I've watched this crap happen decade after decade after decade, and people are doing it by the thousands, and I'm going, holy shit. That ain't the process, that ain't the way to discharge debt. The best process, declare your status, understand your standing, know who they are, know the right process to obtain your trust, go in and get your trust, and then quit worrying about all this shit. All that extra stuff is mud on the battlefield. And I don't want to wade through it. You see what I mean? So I've taken all these steps, these hundreds of processes that are out there, narrowed it down to ones that work, to skip over the ones that you can get in trouble for, and just follow it. I've laid out the plan for you. You're welcome.
Okay, now we're gonna give some stuff away.
Okay, come give stuff away. And then I got one more project.
Dave, come on. I don't know where Katie's at, but we're gonna give stuff away for Katie too.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. We are going to.
Where is my daughter?
I don't know where she went.
She had a kind of urgent matter she needed to address, so she'll be back. We're gonna raffle off stuff on her behalf.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing I'm gonna raffle off.
She's giving away?
Well, we can make that call for her. It's a genuine leather, straight out of Babylon bracelet that I have here. And there are 3 different sizes, so if you win, just come back and see me. We'll get the one that fits you. Nick, is there a last name? Is there a Nick in the house? All right, here you go. Yeah, of course. Okay, and we'll do one more of those bracelets. Tony, who do we have? Donna. Is there a Donna? Oh, over here, okay. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to raffle off. Okay, is for a PMA, a discount on a PMA, so which is a private membership association. And so I realize not everyone is in need of a PMA because it is for the business owner. So we're going to do $500 off, but it is giftable if you have a friend that does have a business that wants to do a PMA. And the winner is, they handed it to me, Josh. Is there a Josh in the house? Oh, Josh, hey.